I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So I don't know that it was a conversation. As you know, Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman. Me, not so much.
Well, it should be treated hostile in this situation.
I think we have.
I very much want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be here.
The explosive testimony from Georgia's Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis that could threaten the election interference case facing former President Donald Trump. I'm Gadi Schwartz. This is Stay Tuned Now. Now there is the court of law, and then there's the court of public opinion. And earlier today in Georgia, we saw both courts in session at an all-day hearing in the election interference case against Donald Trump, who is nowhere to be seen in a way we have never seen before. Today, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis was in the hot seat herself, facing accusations that she dated and then took a bunch of expensive trips with the lead prosecutor on the case, Nathan Wade, and whether the whole saga created a conflict of interest that could disqualify Willis from the case. And as soon as Willis sat down there on the stand, she started fighting back.
You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial. So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth, Judge. And it is a lie. It is a lie.
They took a 5-minute recess after that, and then Fani Willis came back and showed no signs of backing down.
Until January of 22, did any of your children stay at your house?
And you don't have to yell at me. I don't think anyone ever, this is a very lonely period in my life. I don't think anyone ever spent the night other than maybe one night. But what I very, very quickly learned is that this is a very isolating job, and 2021 was a lonely time. I turned 50 in 2021. That's probably one of the worst birthdays I've ever had. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
So many tangents all day long, but keep in mind, neither Willis nor Wade deny they were involved romantically, but the timing is what it all comes down to, timing and receipts. They both say they started dating in 2022, after Wade was hired as a special prosecutor, but the defense is claiming their relationship started before Wade was hired in 2021, and in a dramatic blow to both Willis and Wade's timeline, a former friend of Willis, Robin Yerdy here, testified otherwise. Take a listen.
Can you give us an example?
Hugging, kissing, just affection.
All before November 1st of 2021, correct?
Yes.
Now let's bring in NBC News legal analysts Danny Savalos and Angela Sinandelli. You guys have been watching this glued to the screen all day long. For starters, Danny, this whole question on when they started their romantic relationship, you basically have the DA and the lead prosecutor's word against that former friend, right? Is that going to be the crux of this whole inquiry?
There's going to be some more evidence, but the bottom line is it's not about whether or not there was a romantic relationship. Go to any criminal courthouse anywhere in America. There are a bunch of clandestine relationships going on between judges and cops and public defenders. It's about whether or not the state, the DA's office, represented to the court that the relationship began after a certain date, after the appointment of the special prosecutor, or beforehand. And in a way, it's one of those cover-up is worse than the actual conduct. And then also whether or not the relationship started before he was appointed, in the sense that Fani Willis may have been motivated to give this plum job to the special prosecutor, who the defense has argued doesn't have the qualifications, but that's no longer an issue. Judge McAfee got rid of that. So that's really the core issue. And yes, to some degree, it is a he said, she said, but they've also already admitted to the relationship. It's more about timeline now.
And Angela, I mean, we've got that graphic up right now with the timeline, and you almost have to take notes as to what the dates say here. But the defense's accusations, just to put this in a big picture, basically go, Fani hires the guy she's romantically involved with, and then she benefits when he takes her on some expensive trips. Fani saying, no, they started dating after, and yes, they took trips, but then she paid him back cash, but there don't seem to be many receipts. Do you think Fani's explanations could hold up based on what we heard her say today?
So, Gadi, it sounds ridiculous when you lay it all like that, but I'm going to say that Fani Willis's testimony will hold up only because the defense attorneys did not disprove it. And in this evidentiary hearing, the burden of proof is actually on the defense to say that she is lying and to poke holes in this, to show any evidence, to convince the judge that this is all false. The defense did not do that. Now, look, when Nathan Wade first made the same story on the stand today and said, look, she paid me cash, I don't have receipts, no deposit, etc., it sounded pretty shady. There were a lot of question marks. But then when Fani just went up there and took the stand today, and she gave this great backstory of how her father had always told her she needs to keep cash as she was a divorcee, as she had cash almost always ready just in case, that could resonate as a true story. So I think in terms of her credibility, she probably did enough today, Gadi.
They kept asking for specifics, and then she would fire back with things like this. Let's take a quick listen to some of her testimony.
Nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me.
You do not know where that money came from?
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
So there's nebulous responses there with the explanation that she keeps a lot of cash in the house. Danny, do you think that's going to fly here?
Yeah, again, and the issue isn't do you keep a lot of cash in the house or whether or not it's appropriate to pay for things with cash. There's nothing wrong with paying for things with cash. A lot of people who don't have access to banks, they pay for things in cash. Criminal defense attorneys often get paid in cash. The issue here is whether or not it's too convenient so as to be not credible that Fani Willis just happened to go on all these trips with Nathan Wade and just happened to pay him in wads of cash, never via Venmo, never via Cash App, never via anything that would leave a trail, and just conveniently happened to use this cash that she always just happened to have in her house in anywhere from, I think she testified, $900 to $9,000 just tucked away at home. And again, nothing wrong with having that at home. It's whether or not it's so convenient as to be not credible to the judge.
In the Venn diagrams of people that are watching this, I mean, it's like C-SPAN viewers, Bravo TV viewers, and Court TV viewers that are glued to what happened today. And I guess when it comes to the takeaway here, what happens to this case in the court of public opinion?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens in public opinion is that it seems, just from a loose poll I've been doing with my colleagues and just generally speaking, looking online, that Fani Willis apparently spoke to her constituents in a way that resonated. They found her to be a fighter, and those are all good things when you're running for office. But in terms of did she testify properly or within the rules of evidence today? Absolutely not. I don't know anyone that would testify, that would say as a lawyer that this would be answers to questions that they would find acceptable if they were cross-examining Fani Willis. But look, if it results in her being able to stay on the case and results in a political win for her, at least perception-wise, then good for her. But all in all, in terms of strictly watching courts and did she follow the rules of evidence? I don't think anyone could say she did. She took a chance. She said what she wanted to say, no matter what the question was. And maybe, just maybe, it might have worked.
And all of it continues tomorrow at 9 a.m. or so. Danny, Angela, thanks so much for joining us. And turning now to another Trump case. The former president has officially been given a date for his first criminal trial, which will take place in New York. Now, the current Republican frontrunner will be pulled from the campaign trail under a court order to appear at his criminal trial in New York next month. Remember, Trump is facing 34 felony charges. They're all related to an alleged cover-up of hush money payments he made to porn star Stormy Daniels and others during the 2016 election. And today, the judge denied Trump's request to throw out those charges. charges, but the ruling did not sit well with the former president. Take a listen.
It's election interference by Biden because it's the only way he can think to get elected, because he's accomplished nothing. But I'm honored to sit here. I'm honored to sit here day after day after day on something that everybody says, the greatest legal scholars say, it's not even a crime.
Now, jury selection is going to begin on March 25th. The trial is expected to last more than a month. And NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis joins us now. Rahima, thanks so much for being with us. Donald Trump was in court today when the judge announced his decision. His lawyers were not happy. He was not happy. Can you walk us through what happened?
For sure. Donald Trump, you heard him. That was in the hallway outside of the courtroom. Inside the courtroom, he sat silent, just staring at the judge as his attorneys tried to plead his case for pushing this trial back. First, I should say, they pleaded for a dismissal. The judge denied that. They pleaded to push the case back to a later date. The judge denied that. They said that it's unfair because Donald Trump is facing other cases. There are other trials that he has to go to. The judge said that his attorneys had a responsibility. This particular attorney, Todd Blanche, he said, you went and accepted the case for Florida and the ones for Washington, et cetera, and you didn't have to do that. You did that at your peril, because Trump's attorneys were arguing that there are different elements in each of these cases, and it takes time to be prepared. The judge pointed out that this case was indicted. Judge that said that Donald Trump was indicted back in April of 2023. We're now in February. He said this case is going to move forward in March, on March 25th.
And Rahima, this is a criminal case, meaning Trump has to be at the defense table in New York every single day until this trial's over, not to mention he's facing 4 other criminal cases. How much of the campaign season could he end up missing here?
It seems like Donald Trump is going to try to bring the campaign to him, which he has done in so many other instances when he's been before a court. He often comes out and talks about the case in terms of it being a campaign, calling it election interference, saying that people are unfairly targeting him, and that he looks forward to the voters making a difference in this instance in a way that the legal system is not. So even today, Gadi, the judge had waived his responsibility to appear at this pretrial hearing. But as you see, the former president showed up anyway and says he's going to continue to show up for the duration of the trial, which could last for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, Rahima, I'm so glad you brought that up. On one hand, Trump he's complaining about having to appear for this trial, but he's also going to a lot of hearings voluntarily, as you said. Earlier this week, his campaign actually sent out a message to supporters that said, quote, I'm in court again, and warned they want me arrested and erased from the ballot. That was on a day when he chose to appear at a closed hearing in Florida. So do you think that we're going to see him continue to just show up to court and, as you said, turn that into his platform? The steps of courthouse is now the new campaign stop?
It seems to be his process of how he's working through this. I have to mention to you one thing that's kind of interesting. Back when he was indicted last year in April, there was a crowd of people who showed up at the courthouse. It was maddening. Today, there were only 4 protesters outside of that courtroom. Donald Trump appearing in court was once a novelty. It's not novel anymore, but he's doing everything he can to make it part of his campaign effort to get back into the White House, Gadi.
Wow, juxtapose that with those massive crowds that you see at his political rallies. Rahima Ellis, thanks so much. And tonight, crowds of people are gathering in Kansas City to pay their respects to the victims of that mass deadly shooting during the Super Bowl rally. A vigil is currently underway, and people there are holding candles. They're saying prayers for those victims of the attack. Now, police have been releasing more information about those that were hurt and killed. And we know that Lisa Lopez Galvan, a popular local radio DJ, was fatally shot yesterday. Her sister confirming the news to NBC today. As she was at the parade with her son, a big Chiefs fan, and he was also shot, but he's been released from the hospital. Over 20 people were hurt during the shooting. At least half of those were kids, and 3 people are still in critical condition as we speak. At least 9 kids, some as young as 6-year-old, were treated for gunshot wounds, and those kids are all expected, fortunately, to make a full recovery. Meanwhile, police are saying the shooting was a result of a dispute between a bunch of people, and right now 2 people, both under the age of 18, are in police custody. We're still waiting to learn more about their identities. And NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa joins us now from Kansas City. Maggie, police have released one of the 3 people that were in custody. Where do things stand right now with the investigation? And why haven't we learned more about the suspects yet?
Gadi, it seems like we haven't learned more about the suspects because the 2 that remain in custody, as you point out, are juveniles. Police had said earlier today when they still had the 3 in custody, they said 2 of the ones that we have are minors, later saying they're teenagers. And then we have a 3rd, we presume that was an adult. We later heard 1 person has been released. And here's the thing. The chief of police had told us that in the state of Missouri, they have 24 hours to essentially make a decision to charge or to release. From what we can tell, from what police have told us, they have released the adult, and they now confirm that they have 2 teenagers, a.k.a. 2 juveniles, in custody. So what could be slowing this down, despite that 24-hour rule, is the fact that we're now dealing with, again, juveniles. It's possible they're dealing with the juvenile court system. That can complicate things. So we are still expecting, at the very least, a decision, an announcement on charges or not. But it's hard to say whether or not we'll hear specifics like names and just, frankly, the IDs, again, of these suspects, because that's just kind of been the tone of this so far, that especially because of their ages and because of the sort of decision that they have to make about charges, we just haven't heard those details yet. So we'll stay on that, but that's why we haven't gotten that info.
When it comes to Lisa Lopez Galvan, like we keep hearing over and over again that she was this beloved pillar of the community. What else can you tell us about her?
Yeah, so she was, as you said, a local radio DJ. They called her, her family calling her a pillar of the community, a wife, a mother of 2 adult children. We met her family today, Gadi, and it was dozens of people packed into a house, and a lot of them all lived on the same block, have since they were kids. And they were just so eager and so adamant about letting people know who their sister was or who their aunt was, who their cousin was, so on and so forth. 43-year-old, super successful radio DJ who her brother just wanted to make it known that she was beloved, she was strong, she was warm, she loved her community, she loved Kansas City sports. And he said just more so specifically over and over, she is not a statistic. Take a listen to this sound.
These victims are not numbers. They're all very, very real humans, exactly like my sister. And it's important for all involved, anyone that has any influence in helping resolve these kind of issues or prevent these kind of situations, should be a wake-up call.
You know, one more thing that we should note, you talked about her son, Mark. He's 22 years old. He was at the parade and the rally here earlier today. And you said, and you're right, he was injured. He's since been released from the hospital. But actually, he was one of 4 people, also including his mother, who were injured in that family. Lisa's 2 nieces were also with them at the rally. Both of them were also shot. We're told they're still hospitalized, but they will survive their injuries. Gadi.
We're still praying for all those that are still recovering. Maggie Vespa, thanks so much. Meanwhile, tonight we are learning new details about that national security threat that members of Congress raised alarms about yesterday. U.S. officials telling NBC News Russia is working on a nuclear-powered space asset. And NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has more.
Tonight, the White House confirmed that it's monitoring Russia's development of what it called a troubling anti-satellite capability, but cautioned it is not a threat to Americans.
We are not talking about a weapon that can be used to attack human beings or cause physical destruction here on Earth.
And tonight, NBC News has learned new details about that capability, that it's a Russian nuclear-powered space asset that could be weaponized, according to a U.S. official and a congressional official familiar with the intelligence. It is not a nuclear bomb that Russia is trying to send up in space.
It is not an active capability, and it has not yet been deployed.
Experts have said a nuclear-fueled satellite might be able to carry a high-powered jammer that could block out a wide array of communications and other signals. Today's revelations come just hours after the House Intelligence Committee chairman, Republican Mike Turner, issued a cryptic warning demanding the White House declassify intelligence about the unspecified threat. And today the White House met with House leaders about it.
I've got great faith in what the administration is currently doing to try to address this matter.
In 2022, NBC News' cameras were the first ever allowed inside the U.S. Space Command in Colorado. General Stephen Whiting speaking to NBC's Tom Costello.
We don't want there to be a war in space, but if others choose to start a war there, we'll be ready.
All of it as Russian President Vladimir Putin is raising eyebrows, weighing in on the 2024 election, saying he would prefer President Biden over Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. Saying Biden is more experienced, more predictable. He is an old-school politician. Mr. Trump calling that a compliment.
The only president in the last 5 that hasn't given Russia anything is a president known as Donald J. Trump.
And this rebuke from the White House.
Mr. Putin should just stay out of our elections.
Peter Alexander, thanks so much. Don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. A high school shooting prevented. We're going to tell you how police were able to stop an 18-year-old from carrying out a mass shooting at his school. Plus, if you thought ChatGPT was one of the biggest advances in tech, well, wait till you see what OpenAI, the maker of that software, just released. And we are one step closer to putting astronauts back on the moon. Later this hour, in the Future of Everything, we're going to tell you about today's successful lunar launch, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, and here's some of the stories we're following out here in the West. 9 firefighters were hurt this morning when a truck with compressed natural gas exploded in Wilmington, California. At least 2 of those firefighters were hospitalized in critical condition. And officials say firefighters were responding to a semi-truck that caught fire before that blast. Miraculously, the driver that was inside of that truck before it blew up was not hurt. It's unclear what caused the explosion. Over to Idaho now, where Republicans there say they are not going to allow the press into caucus sites for the upcoming GOP presidential caucus next month. They say it's to protect election integrity and make sure only people with credentials can vote. Only registered Republicans and children under 18 will be allowed inside polling locations. The media will, however, still be able to interview people outside. And just days after we told you about the body of that missing woman being recovered near Mount Baldy, police rescued 6 hikers who were trapped on the mountain at about 9,000 feet. You're seeing some of that footage right there. The chopper crew airlifting the hikers off the mountain after they got stuck on a trail because of all the snow right there. Video showing them walking in a line, holding onto each other's shoulders as they head to the chopper. They were all found safe with no injuries. And an 18-year-old in California who police say was obsessed with school shootings is now facing charges accused of plotting a shooting at his own high school. Sebastian Villaseñor is being charged with 1 count of attempting to make criminal threats and 5 counts of attempted murder. He was arrested earlier this week in Ontario, east of Los Angeles, after another student raised some alarms about him. When police arrested him at his home, they say they found evidence of his plans and a bunch of weapons registered to his parents that he had access to, including 7 rifles, 3 handguns, a shotgun, and more than 1,000 rounds of ammo. Police and school officials say they are lucky someone said something.
That student saved lives, spared families from losing their children, and a community from being devastated from a senseless act of violence.
And NBC News correspondent Dana Griffith joins us now. Police say they found some of these plans, and it almost sounds like they also found that there might have been a date, right?
Yeah, well, they initially thought that it would have been around April 20th, which would have been the anniversary, or which is the anniversary of the Columbine shooting. They say this student was obsessed with the Columbine shooting. That falls on a Saturday this year. So they actually believe it may have happened sooner. I spoke with the Ontario police chief, Mike Lorenz, today, and he says there were signs, other evidence that they didn't really go into, but they said he was declining in school. And you can see the images that they shared with NBC News. These are some images that he recently took of himself. And it's very chilling. So they believe that he could have done this a lot sooner because he was researching tactical gear and also researching police response times. So they say that he was even considering how to target police officers because they say he didn't want to kill himself, but that he wanted to fight till the end. Listen to what the police chief told me.
He researched everything. He researched what ballistics could penetrate a law enforcement officer's vest. He knew that potentially if he took a chest shot on a police officer, it wouldn't have the impact that he wanted. It wouldn't eliminate the threat. So he knew he had to take headshots of a police officer. He knew the proper time when students would be out and not in class.
So just very chilling details there. They also say those guns actually belonged to his parents, but that he knew how to access them. They said the parents were very cooperative and that they thought that these guns were safe, locked away, but they didn't realize that he knew how to access them, according to police.
So how soon did all this come to a head? I mean, how soon, how much time elapsed since the time that the alarms were raised by another student and police raided his house?
Yeah, so that student alerted alerted the principal on a Thursday, and the arrest was made on Saturday. So investigators say that they were looking at this kid since then, and that's when they discovered more evidence surrounding what he was planning to do. So it didn't take very long, but again, they say that they interviewed him and that he confessed to a lot of things. And so they say that he was intent on carrying out the shooting.
They're very specific with the charges here. 5 counts of attempted murder, even though no shooting happened.
Yeah.
Why is it 5 counts of attempted murder? Did he have a list, or where does that come from?
And that's a really good question. So there is no charge for even thinking of committing a mass shooting. But they said because he had evidence showing that he was going to further that act, that's why they were able to charge him with this. They say that when they spoke with him, he was not remorseful. He admitted to what he was going to do. He even had not a hit list, but there were 5 people that he wanted to target. There was a group that he was going to leave alone because they protected him, according to police, or he felt that, they had his back. But he said that everyone else was fair game. And so because of the evidence that they collected, they said everything that he talked about that he was willing to do, they were able to back up by looking at his Google searches and looking at whatever they found in the home. So they believe that he was intent on committing this crime, and that's why he's charged now with 5 counts of attempted murder.
Clearly such a close call. Dana Griffin, thanks so much for being with us. Hey, welcome back, and let's take a quick look around the world. The Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'd rather have Joe Biden over Donald Trump in the general election, and that's because he says Biden is, quote, more experienced and more predictable. Putin made the comments during an interview on state TV last night. Trump said Putin paid him a compliment with that, but the White House said Putin needs to, quote, stay out of America's elections. And U.S. forces say they have seized Iranian weapons and a shipment on its way to Houthi rebels in Yemen. U.S. Central Command posted on social media that they got their hands on over 200 packages carrying missile parts and explosives. Houthi rebels have been attacking ships in the Red Sea since the start of the Israeli-Hamas war. And UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is promising to grow their economy, but right now the opposite is happening. New data out this week shows that the UK slipped into a recession at the end of last year, with GDP shrinking by 3% in the final months of 2023. And that's not such good news for Sunak's election campaign, which is coming up next year. And it appears that one of the best soccer players on the planet has told his current team he is done with them. A number of reports say Kylian Mbappe will leave his Paris club in the summer after 7 years. The question now becomes, where is he going to go next? And at just 24 years old, with a World Cup title and a number of other trophies under his belt, the answer is just about anywhere he wants. And 2 days after the Israeli military ordered Palestinians to leave one of Gaza's last functioning hospitals, Israeli troops stormed in looking for Hamas fighters, raising concerns about the fate of hundreds of patients and medical workers. And NBC's Raf Sanchez has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Israeli forces for weeks now have been surrounding the Nasser hospital in the city of Han Yunis. It's the largest hospital still functioning anywhere in the Gaza Strip. But this week, Israeli forces were threatening to go inside. And today at 2 a.m. local time, they carried out that threat, according to the Israeli military and doctors inside the hospital we've spoken to. Israeli special forces carrying out a raid in the hospital. We have seen footage from inside that facility just showing smoke and terror in the hallways. Doctors wheeling patients still in their beds out of the orthopedic wing into the hallways, trying to get them to safety. A number of civilians were also sheltering inside the hospital. They have been forced to flee by this Israeli raid. The Israeli military says that Hamas has been using the Nasser hospital as a hub for military activities. They claim that they have arrested a number of operatives from Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups over the course of this raid. NBC News has not been able to independently verify that, but they say they were also searching the hospital looking for the bodies of Israeli hostages who they think may have been buried on the hospital grounds. No word yet on whether they did indeed find any of those hostage bodies. It comes as anger is mounting here in Israel among the families of some of those hostages at the decision by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to continue staying at the negotiating table in Cairo, where talks on a potential ceasefire are ongoing. Families blocking traffic in front of the defense ministry here in Tel Aviv and demanding that the government make a deal to bring their loved ones home now. Back to you.
NBC's Ralph Sanchez, thanks so much. And still to come, the best of us. So we are going to introduce you to a 16-year-old girl that is not letting her blindness get in the way of becoming a star bowler. Her amazing story is next, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, and here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. The first story gives a whole new take on the phrase moving target, because this week a hillside in West Virginia gave way, yes, taking a Target store with it. No word yet on what caused that hillside to collapse, but court documents show that same stretch of land was previously damaged by a landslide over 20 years ago. And a DOJ watchdog report finds that nearly 200 suicides inside federal prisons could have been prevented. We are talking about a period from 2014 to 2021. And the report cites a combination of policy violations and operational failures. The majority of the suicides were white men who killed themselves by hanging, which is how prison officials say Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019. And Detroit Pistons star Isaiah Stewart has been arrested after allegedly punching a player for the Phoenix Suns. Now, this happened in the parking lot before yesterday's game. Police say Stewart got into it with Phoenix Suns player Drew Eubanks, and Stewart was arrested for assault, cited, and later released. And the 3 D.C. police officers who were shot were released from a hospital today. And that shooting happened as the officers were trying to serve a search warrant and arrest warrant for animal cruelty yesterday that led to a 13-hour standoff with the suspect barricading himself inside the home. He eventually surrendered. And today, the White House announced almost $1 billion in airport improvements across the country. And that money is going to go to 114 different airports. It's going to be used for things like upgraded baggage systems, wider concourses, and even some new terminals. In our segment, The Best of Us, we bring you the remarkable story of Lexi Davis, a high school student from Reno, Nevada, with a passion for bowling. She's easily adopted to that sport despite being legally blind. Madison McKay from our local affiliate, KRNV, has that story.
I feel like a lot of people have low expectations for blind people, and they don't think they can do anything anyone else can do.
She's only been bowling for a year and already has the sport down to a science.
I like challenges, so the harder the thing, the more I want to do it. Ashley taught me how to kind of picture the pins in my brain to see where I should throw it, and then she taught me where to stand based on the middle dot, and I base everything off of that.
Lexi was not born blind. She developed an eye abnormality when she was around 11 years old called coloboma. It affects 1 in every 10,000 people in the U.S.
When I first lost my vision, I was super positive, and I made everything into a joke. Then as I got older, it kind of got a little more tough. School's hard when you're the disabled one, but I mean, you just gotta be yourself, and the right people will stay around.
If you think being blind is a strike against Lexi, think again. She bowled over 200 points during a tournament.
Since I based everything off of feeling, I just kept bowling the same way how I felt, and I just got 6 strikes in a row, and it all just worked out.
It's kind of amazing because when she turns around, she always has the same expression, and until somebody tells her, you got a strike, and she's, oh, I did?
Oh, and Lexi's talents don't end with being a standout bowler.
Take a piece of paper and just kind of draw what I see in my head. And color-wise, I don't see colors, and just you know, miss and match kind of colors.
And hope it looks great.
Yeah, just look out for the best. You know?
Clearly, Lexi has many passions, challenging the misconceptions between sight and sport. In Reno, I'm Madison McKay.
6 strikes and then those drawings to boot. Incredible. Before we go, it is time for the future of everything. 50 years after the last Apollo mission, a moon lander was successfully launched today. And we've got former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino here with us for what that means for getting astronauts back on the moon. So stay tuned. And now for a Future of Everything edition of Around the World. Let's start with some Lunar New Year celebration. The Chinese dragon leading the way for celebrations as the Year of the Dragon finally is here. And now let's go to the Amalfi Coast. Check out this stunning drone video of a historic church there. A picture-perfect afternoon there in Italy. But wait. It is 2024, which means we should be checking to see if these are real or made by AI. And yes, you guessed it. Those are not real videos. Instead, they were generated by OpenAI's newest text-to-image model called Sora, which they say will let people type in a sentence or two and it'll pop out that kind of high-definition video up to a minute long. OpenAI dropping a bunch of examples today. Now, we haven't had a chance to play around with Sora ourselves because the company says it's still in research phase and it's only offering it to filmmakers and designers for feedback right now. But NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung is joining us to give us his take. Brian, thanks so much for being with us. This is something that has been promised, been expected, and then there's others that have been experimenting with things kind of like this too, but a little bit more janky. Now that it's here, what stands out to you?
Yeah, well, and first of all, this is coming from the same team, OpenAI, that had ChatGPT, where you can kind of get chat responses from a bot. And then they also had DALL-E, where you can type in text and then get an image. So this is the next natural evolution of that. Type in text and get video. So we're seeing some stunning examples of this as they've released and announced this today. One other example is, check this out, a woolly mammoth. And the prompt is pretty detailed in the example that they use. It's several giant woolly mammoths approaching, treading through a snowy meadow. Their long woolly fur lightly blows in the wind. Like, it's a really long prompt, but check out how detailed that looks. And obviously this is not real because woolly mammoths are extinct, but you can see the detail there. But it's interesting, as OpenAI said, alongside this technology, there are some limitations to it as well. There's another example that we have here where the prompt was 5 gray wolf pups frolicking. You can see, that looks kind of weird. Like, they're all kind of just jumbled together.
Appear.
Right. So they're saying that there are some limitations to this, like how things interact with each other, certain types of motion, which is in a way comforting because it's like, all right, well, this technology can't do everything. But I mean, this is really, really crazy technology. That woolly mammoth thing is still blowing my mind.
Yeah, that's why. Let's pull up a few more of these examples because it doesn't really, sink in until you're looking at it and you're like, wait. This is not an actual video. I think we have some of some. I mean, this one right here. This looks like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, and those are not real people.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why they'd crochet like space helmets, but you've got the eyes, you can see the beard, you can see like the space apparatus behind there, and something like this, like if it was a movie, this would take probably hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars just to shoot and produce that scene and the scenes that you're seeing there. This just looks like a drone shot. I mean, like the waves, a little bit of a blur there, but this kind of shows where everything is headed, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm from the East Coast, so this could be Dana Point to me. I don't even know what it looks like, right? I mean, that's the issue with AI here is, A, you have verification of these types of things, right? Safety is very much an open question when it comes to this technology, right? You can let anyone go in and generate a 60-second video. We already know about the deep fake porn issues with Taylor Swift as of late. So what OpenAI says is that the same guardrails that have been put in place with, for example, ChatGPT and DALL-E, well, they're saying they can apply that here as well. They're going to watch for extreme extreme violence, sexual content, hateful imagery, celebrity likeness, the IP of others. But we've seen applications in the past where, despite some of the things that they've tried to do to guardrail this, it hasn't done the job of protecting artists, protecting likenesses, and other types of issues. So, how are they going to do this? Well, they say that they're engaging policymakers, educators, and artists in this testing phase because it is not available to the public, and OpenAI tells me it won't be available to the public soon. But regardless, I'm sure this is very much in attention in Hollywood, where you have creators, illustrators, visual effects folks that are saying, is this going to put me out of work?
Absolutely. That's a big question here in Hollywood. Brian Chung, thanks so much for joining us. And it seems like every week we hear about some new TikTok trend, but is the trend of TikTok itself finally starting to peak? Well, that depends on who you ask and what they think about this whole new e-commerce feature called TikTok Shop, which hasn't exactly been a hit with all the users. And NBC News correspondent Elwin Lopez takes a look.
The days of endless scrolling past dance videos, what I eat in a day, get ready with me, and the occasional funny animal now filled with ad after ad after ad. And it looks like normal content until you see this key identifier, a tiny shopping cart. It's the new era of TikTok Shop. Does it mean that we've hit peak TikTok as we know it? And could the mighty app be showing signs of user fatigue?
Anyone getting pissed off that TikTok is just turning into one giant ad?
I would never buy anything off of TikTok Shop.
Every single other post is TikTok Shop or an ad.
While TikTok doesn't disclose its data, market intelligence firm Sensor Tower says global monthly active users on the platform grew only 3% in 2023, a sharp dip from 12% the year before. And insider intelligence showing screen time plateauing.
It is concerning for any app when there is a slowdown in user growth or time spent on the app, and every minute really counts.
This year, a shakeup, dozens of employees laid off. And in a strategic pivot, TikTok now trying to be more than a social media app in what appears to be a face-off with Amazon. TikTok Shop opening its carts to the U.S. in September. Everything from skincare to spicy pickles, all directing users to their new e-commerce venture. The shift not only felt by users, but by sellers too.
But I made another video and then it just started going viral.
That's Michael Hurling, a stay-at-home dad turned wood chopper turned TikTok hat maker.
Follow along and watch how I make my first TikTok shop item. And from there, it's just been absolute chaos, or I should say a blessing.
In less than half a year, he says he sold about 27,000 hats. Also saying TikTok doled out big promotions without costing the seller a dime, dropping some items to a single cent. But those deals may be a thing of the past.
Discounts and incentives were a really good way to convince these sellers, as well as buyers, to start using the platform. The real test will be what happens when those subsidies and incentives are gone.
Buyers accustomed to shorter and shorter wait times to get that latest hot item, and TikTok seemingly hearing them out, meaning this father of three must keep up.
So if you're going viral back to back to back, you still have 3 days from that day that had to sell to get scanned by the post office and out the door.
Michael says all of it led him to a nervous breakdown.
I never really saw daylight outside. I missed baseball games. I missed holidays, kind of like an anxiety attack kind of deal, because I was just nervous. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
A TikTok spokesperson says, in part, they are looking for feedback from the community and have teams and tools in place to help sellers manage sales and fulfillments. It's a new high-stakes frontier. The question, will it work for users, sellers, and TikTok's bottom line? For now, keep calm and scroll on. Elwin Lopez, NBC News.
Elwin, thanks so much for that. And right now, there is a rocket hurtling through space on its way to the moon. It is supposed to land exactly 1 week from today. And if it does, it would be the first time the U.S. has landed a spacecraft on the moon since 1972. Odysseus launched there from NASA's Kennedy Space Center early this morning on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. But this isn't exactly a NASA mission. The mission belongs to Intuitive Machines, that Texas-based company that built Odysseus, and NASA is still involved, and this mission is part of this initiative to deliver science projects and cargo to the moon. But Odysseus would be the first ever private spacecraft to ace a lunar landing. Fingers crossed. Former NASA astronaut and senior advisor to the space programs at the Intrepid Museum, Mike Massimino, joins us now. Mike, always a pleasure to see you. Could this be the first time we're back to the moon in 50 years? I mean, we've seen attempts made before, but how likely is this one going to go off without a hitch?
Well, I don't know, Gadi. When there's 14 of these missions that NASA has funded, and so far they're 0 for 1. Astrobiotic tried about a month ago, it didn't work, so this is attempt 2. I think NASA was hoping that about half of those missions of the 14 that they funded will be successful. So hopefully this one will be successful, and then they'll be 1 for 2 and hitting that 50% mark. But we'll see. It's so far so good.
So far, so good. And what do you think this means for future moon landings? I mean, are we going to be seeing this happen a lot more regularly, or are we going to be waiting decades again if we see a couple more setbacks?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if we're not seeing. Hopefully, these guys will be intuitive machines will be successful this week. Next week we'll find out. But I would be really surprised if we're waiting for decades like we have been. It's a whole different era now. Because it's not just NASA, it's also these private companies that are involved. Other countries as well. India landed a spacecraft on the moon. Other countries have attempted recently and not done well with it, but they keep trying. And I think we're in a whole new era now because it's not just governments, it's also these private companies that are going there.
Look, you got backseat drivers all over the place. You got NASA engineers, the best and the brightest. And then you got people sitting on their couch being like, why is it so hard to land on the moon? We did it before cell phones. We did it before computers. I guess the long and short of it, why is it so hard to land on the moon?
Well, back then when we did land, the last time we landed on the moon, we had people on board. We had very skilled astronauts, former test pilots who were trained to fly these spacecraft. And so they were able to adjust and make decisions. And Neil Armstrong, if it wasn't for him on that first moon landing, they wouldn't have landed. He and Buzz Aldrin had to make some changes at the very last few seconds to pull that one off. We're trying to do it automated now. There's no people on board. That makes it safer. And in a lot of ways, the automatic systems are more interesting in some ways, but they don't have that human element to them. So I think that's part of it too, is you don't have a person to take over if the landing conditions don't look good. Yeah, safer, but not as fun, I guess, depending on who you ask, which leads me to this next question. It's leading to more people, I think, is what it is. It's kind of scouting things out. Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry. So let's say we get this down in the next decade, and we got it down so well that they're just looking for people to go up to the moon. You going up? Yeah, I'll go, but I don't know if they're going to be looking for me 10 years from now. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of young astronauts who are going to want to go, younger than me anyway, and a lot of other people as well. But I'd love to go. I mean, I think the moon would be an amazing place to explore. We haven't had people there since that last time the United States sent a spacecraft there, Apollo 17. That's the last time anybody was on the moon. So I'm looking forward, whoever that is, I'm looking forward to when that happens. Hopefully it's you and me. You could be Han Solo, I'll be Luke, or I don't know, Chewie. Yeah. Awesome, Mike Massimino. Let's do that. That's a good pair. There we go. Neil and Buzz, much better. Mike, always a pleasure. Thanks so much. And that does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.